Hello everyone, I'm Tina with Gems Paper Scissors. I am an independent consultant with close to my heart. Tonight I am going to cover the basic uses of our different kinds of ink. I'm not going to give physical examples, I'll save that for other tutorials. So I'm going to change my screen, just give me a moment. Okay, so we have several kinds of inks. And with that, we have what's called a watermark type of ink, water-based inks, pigment inks, and solvent inks. Now, what does that mean to you as a crafter working with papers? So we carry the Versamark, and it is a watermark type of an ink. So you would use this to leave a watermark stamped image on a project, or you could use it. It dries almost clear. It's translucent. So when it dries, it leaves that watermark feel. But you can also use it when you're doing embossing. It really likes to pick up and glue chalk and pigment powders to your project. So typically you use this with some embossing powder, heated up milk powders, and then you've got this fantastically intense embossed image. So those are the two main uses for the watermark stamp ink. Next we have what's called a water-based ink, and it absorbs directly into your paper, and it tends to be fast drying. Because of how fast this type of ink sets, it's perfect for standard inking projects. If you are coloring in your image, then this ink is pretty beneficial, as it'll blend with your watercolor markers or watercolor paint as kind of an outline. But if you want your stamped image to stay true and not blend in as a watermark or a watercolor, this might not be what you choose. So then we have what's called a pigment-based ink. And this, it settles on top of your paper instead of absorbing into it. It takes longer to dry, and typically it takes long enough that I'll use my heat tool to dry it faster. But it is, because of its thickness and its slow dry time, it's also ideal for using with heat embossing powders, as well as doing special effects, which I will definitely be doing a tutorial later this year with. It is perfect for using with chalks and just other materials for mixed media. And then we have 3 different kinds of solvent-based ink. We have StazOn, which is perfect for stamping on photos or acetate, glass, and other smooth surfaces. It dries nicely. We also used it in my black ice technique video that I did a couple weeks ago. If you're interested and look back on it, it's really a fun technique that StazOn is ideal for. It works nicely on our new holographic papers. And so then we have our archival black, which is perfect with the use of watercolor ink and paint, as well as stamping on our vellum. Again, it's based off of how it dries and how it interacts with the mediums. And finally, our intense black. And there are people that really miss our Mementos ink. And I kind of did at first. It took some practice to get good with this ink. It felt messy, it felt thicker. But once I got a little bit of practice under my belt, I have actively fallen in love with our intense black. It's fantastic with alcohol markers such as our Spectrum Neo or Tri blends. It is so strong of a color that it just makes your black images pop on a page. So this has actually become my go-to black ink. Because I never know whether or not I'm going to do coloring or water painting. So unless I have a major plan in place before I pull out my paper, this is my go-to. So that is a quick summary of what our inks can do, what some of the purposes are, how I would use them. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in a comment. I tend to reply in short order. I will be giving physical demonstrations with samples and tutorials on how to use these in the coming weeks. Have a great evening, and I look forward to being here again on Thursday. Have a great crafty week.